Hey, how's it going? So today, sorry, I just think I need to turn that down a little bit. I'm going to talk about Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea again. And this is one of those things where I was just pointed at this and I wasn't going to do anything with it. I just saw it and thought, oh, haha, that's funny. But let me read you the description of what IMDb says for the episode. Oops, wrong button. Okay, it says I should have had this ready. It says a lone survivor of a doomed Antarctic expedition is rescued. The Seaview, that's the submarine, takes him and a woman photographer to see if there are if there's really a dinosaur-laden tropical paradise somewhere in the Antarctic. And so the reason the reason why that is significant to me is because of my interest in the subject of the Antarctic and what's there and what goes on up there. And it's also a big area of discussion in the sort of disclosure community. Like, government, disclose more about UAPs and what the government now calls supernatural stuff, very generically, phenomena. So it's pretty well known that every country has a station in the Antarctic, and from what we know mostly, or have known, is that it's frozen, and it's very difficult to live there, and you need icebreakers to get to it. But if you fly in, an American expedition at one point many years ago, look it up yourself, discovered a sort of tropical area smack dab in this like icy wasteland, allegedly. Allegedly icy and allegedly tropical oasis. So it's not an area of discussion that people are not unfamiliar with in the disclosure community. And then, however far that's reverberated beyond itself. Anyway, also, okay, never mind that. Okay, so in the show, the guy that they talk about who gets rescued apparently is like a Navy scientist. He has like a rank and stuff in the show, but they don't really refer to it much. But he's kind of, I guess, like the bad example of the show, because he's kind of a coward and has kind of like dodgy morals. And what happens is the expedition does indeed go to the Antarctic, and they're all like bundled up for the icy stuff, and come across this area where it's like tropical, so there's no need for all of the furs and layers and so on to protect against any like frozen stuff. And once inside, it is inhabited not only by flora and fauna of a very ancient variety, in which case they are described as, or depicted as, being very large. And there's dinosaurs, which I'll just tell you now, I'm going to spoil this show from 1964. The dinosaurs were, it looked like an iguana and a caiman that they glued like dorsal fins on and horns and things that they didn't have naturally. And then, PETA, if there was a PETA at the time, and certainly now would have been alarmed, as I was, that the two animals seem to be natural enemies. And once they put them together in the scene, they immediately started fighting, and like it wasn't fake. They were like seriously biting each other and thrashing around like they were hurting each other. It was jolting. Anyway, and then the flora, the trees and vegetation was supposed to be so oversized, but having grown up in damn near tropical Los Angeles, I can tell you that looked like just the regular old palms, the I guess decorative palms outside of many of the apartment complexes I lived at, and all over the place. There's hibiscus in LA, and various vines and things that. I mean, if you think they went to like Hawaii or even Catalina Island to film Gilligan's Island, they may have for the water scenes, but honestly, whatever they would have needed in the way of vegetation was probably growing right at the studio. So, that little bit of Hollywood trivia for you, Hollywood trivia people, you trivial people. Anyway, the of course the depiction of the oasis in the Antarctic was fake because even now that there's so much awareness of it, very few people are allowed to go there, and even fewer to come back and talk about what they saw or experienced there. But there are stories, rumors about life existing as it would have, I guess, 100 million years ago, except for people that live there are like German in some of the stories, because in their expedition they found the same thing and colonized it, and like the aliens that were there sort of talk like Germans, although there's quick detour, there's other aliens that sound like Australians, so do what you will with that. But let me just put a little comment cap on it. They're everywhere. So, but anyway, back to the Antarctic story in the show and also reality. Evidently, this show is disclosing or exposing you to the idea that this stuff really exists. And it's so interesting to me, these things, because this is from 1964, this show, and we are still talking about the same stuff, and it's only like in the past maybe decade and the present that we're getting like more information about this stuff. It's funny. I mean, not haha funny, maybe a little of that, but haha, that's unusual. So that's what has to do with like the episode description, but also what happens, it's like sort of like a messed up love story too, because the guy that's the main guest star, who's the naval scientist, is a big coward, which is weird because I think regardless of his department in the Navy, he still gets like the training that they all get going in, like the basic training, I think. And so he's like a big coward, so he sees the dinosaurs and freaks out and runs away, and like I guess he like runs away and doesn't get captured by the people that live there, that are basically indigenous, like Amerindians, what they call them. So like Native American Indians for some reason are people that were living on the Antarctic, although there's a whole like northern diaspora into the United States, along with the other diasporas they had to suffer through here once they were here. Oh yeah, the poor indigenous people just have had like I should say poor, because in some schools it's thought that's like a rich, exciting life to have lived, no matter the painful part of it. There's also the joy, and it's just like a rich experience. But that's like a whole level of other stuff that I'm just kind of referencing. But yeah, Indians, like from America, as we would refer to them colloquially, as non-native, non-indigenous people. Well, why are they there? Maybe because what I said. Another like theory out of anthropology that shows up as sort of reality, which might actually have basis in reality in this show. Like wheels within wheels, y'all. It just is like this crazy mesh, and it all kind of fits together from like. Well, I'm not going to do the counting for you, but you know what years it is now, 2022, and however many between now and 1964, that is, it's a lot of them, and the arc of justice or the arc of time moves hella slowly. Like now that some of this stuff can maybe start making sense to more people not in specialized areas studying it for governments that are highly secretive and weird about stuff. Pardon. So I used to do this thing in my first two channels that I have lost to just unfortunate events, called follicle focus, and I would just sort of notice people's hair that I thought was cool and interesting. And so today, I'm wearing a pajama shirt. I think it is. I mean, I just wear it as usual shirt, but it was chilly today, and I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so it's not like the rainy rainforest situation it was when I moved here like 30 plus years ago, but it was like that today. It would have been normal for this time of year for it to be dark and cloudy and drizzly and rainy and just sort of bed weather, basically, if you can get away with it. A lot of people here, we all agree on this. It must be something that's drawn us here, or you're born here, and it's just some weather is conducive to being under the covers and dozing. So, but yeah, the follicle focus. I have a fuzz thing happening with my hair, unless it's like freshly washed and okay, that's no good. Whatever commercial, I don't want to hear it back there. Anyway, but a lot of times I'll like paste it down, and by the time I get started, it's already like drying and flying back up and making this like fuzzy aurora thing, or yeah, aurora thing, the hair halo. And the reason why I don't like to always paste it down is because, well, for one thing, I don't really have product for it, but when I do, I don't, it's kind of expensive. It's sort of like beyond my budget. It's not a necessity to me. But I know that people watching these things scrutinize you all hard, and there's other people out there making videos that you see take a lot of trouble for their appearance in various ways. And the reason why I don't like invest a lot of time and energy on this is because it's not really what I want you to focus on. I want you to focus on what I'm saying, but you are looking at me. So I'm going to remind people of, well, I'm going to remind older people of something called the Jerry curl. If you can see reruns of Dave Chappelle's show, you can see an approximation of a Jerry curl. But it was like a straightened hair thing, and then to maintain the sort of gravity and like swinginess and non-fuzzy situation, and basically make it look like white hair, like hang that same way and have that same movement. It was to like deeply oil it, like grease it to death, like birria hairdo. I don't know, Jerry curl grease. Like I didn't use it, but it was everywhere, and you'd see it, like it was everywhere. Well, it was everywhere, and I'll tell you why, because I rode the bus a lot, and so do a lot of people in LA, and if you're on there for a while, the movement kind of lulls you to sleep, especially if you just finished working all day, or it's really hot out, or you're seeing like a fence go by, and it's just like, next thing you know, you're like 3 stops beyond where you need to be, because you fell asleep. So in the Jerry curl time, you'd see lots of like just grease smears on bus windows, and it sucked because you don't want somebody else's grease on your hair or on your skin. And that's just enough right there. And I didn't wear it, so again, I didn't want it on me. And it was on like windows everywhere of buses and other places, like wherever somebody could lean and touch their head to something, there would be a grease stain. That's nasty. Like, what do you clean that with? Yuck. So, that is why I have an aversion to product, along with other stuff like cost and do I give a crap about it. um, but yeah, that's why I often have fuzzy hair. And I'll just admit straight up, I, prepared a little bit before I started doing this. I've thought about it for a long, long time. So it wasn't like I needed a lot of time to do what I was going to talk about, prep. But like I said, I was lounging all day. So that is what happens when you have wet hair in the morning and sitting in the chair. And another thing, I think people often wonder about why a lot of women wear the pineapple, like the ponytail on top. And for me, I guess I'm tiny now. I lost like 3.5 inches over the years of height for various reasons, and most chairs I sit in now, my head runs into the back of it, and so especially like today, if you're dozing, you're falling asleep and you're leaning your head back, and all of a sudden your head's rolling this terrible way on this little knot that's called your ponytail. So you move it up to the top. And that is the follicle focus for today. Yeah, I have had other stuff to say more important, but I did that in my WordPress. I'm just kind of like, I just want to have like excess for eyes for a while as far as thinking about stuff, because heavy stuff is all over the place, and I'm just trying to, go along. It's happening, yes. I'm aware of it, yes. Some of it's a heartache, yes, but that's not the only stuff happening in the world. Thank goodness there's goodness. Oh, before I go real quick, Yellowstone. Woo, boy. Wow. I'm just going to say it real quick. I think that is like her way of getting everybody that she can out of there so that she can release some pressure, because we create an atmosphere of pressure with all the stuff that I was just talking about being all heavy and weighing on you. And even if you're on vacation in Yellowstone, you're like aware of it and you're thinking of it, and we're all kind of connected, so it's all like emanating from all of us, and some of us react to it more strongly than others, and it's like we're a bunch of zits all over the earth, and we're emotional zits, and one place where the earth can like release what she absorbs from all of our acne is to like shove around some plates, like readjust, imagine Earth's butt where she sits. She's got to readjust occasionally because of all this outer indigestion she's absorbing. So, yeah, but it looks bad, it looks crazy, and the animals know what's up. The animals feel stuff coming way before we do. Like, I don't think we really got to worry about them a whole lot. And they have their experience so much different than we do as humans. Their understanding is, a few of us can get it. It's very advanced and very different from ours. While we think it's primitive and childish and animalistic, we don't know. Anyway, that's enough for now. Thank you and good night.